maybe they should examine that as well.
So one of the last lines is, I called a member of the committee twice with no results. So where are we sending this? Councillor Dodge, you're on, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the criteria is, the wording is being changed, do I understand that? Would it be changed?
We used to be, was going to be known lost at sea, but then we went to lost to the sea, which moved it.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'll give you an example,
So
Council.
this is not going to happen again?
Well, I'll give you an example. Howard Newell, who disappeared in Wedgeport in the 1930s, 40s, he died in the swamp there. Okay, but it's near the sea, so therefore his name's on the monument. You see what I mean? So it was lost to the sea. It was felt that because the water is coming in, it's a factor. People who fell off we had a young fellow, former student of mine, passed away a number of years ago, who fell off the rocks at Cape Frechou. He's on the monument. He was lost to the sea. Although the original thought was lost at sea, they decided to, the committee, after the mandate, decided to expand it to lost to the sea, which means could be anything, could be any, it could be Tuscan River or anything that's saltwater related.
I'm going to be honest, I just feel uncomfortable just sitting here discussing this. It's a matter of the heart. Where does it go so that we can correct it?
Your Worship, I'd like to
ahead,
make a
Councillor.
motion. We send it to Waterfront Development Corporation in care of the chair, Mr. McLeod. I know it went through the 250th, but most of the project and all the research went through the Waterfront Development Corporation, and Mr. Warner, who was instrumental in writing some of the proposals to getting the Lost at Sea done. I think between himself and the chair, Mr. McLeod, should be able to take care of this. So, and I know Jim has a very personal relationship with Eileen. I think between those three people, they should be able to resolve this.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll withdraw mine.
Moved in, oh, okay, thank you. Moved and seconded. Councillor Dawes, did you
Thank
have?
you. I just wanted to add that and to include an insurance that this would not happen.
Can't do that.
No.
I don't think we can't
It is
guarantee that.
2300.
Because it was a
Names that are submitted or that were submitted or that will be submitted in the future. Any names that are submitted, I'm sure that the whoever nominates or submits these names is also going to give the reason for and the history, and that would be checked out.
Yeah, I think.
Not this one.
Well, they did, in retrospect, they did 2,300 names, and I think we spent how much? $60,000 in research on this, $60,000 in research on this project through the Yarmouth County Museum.
And one mother's heart slipped through the cracks.
And we missed one out of 2,300, so if you do the percentages,
No, I agree. It's not bad percentages, but really it shouldn't happen.
well, hopefully,
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't.
and Your Worship, and like we said, they're going back several hundred years, 200 or 300 years, and with all new ones, hopefully there's not going to be any more, but we know that there will. Anything new will be fully documented and fresh to memory, so hopefully that resolves Mrs. Ruda's situation.
Okay. Question's been called. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. CFEST Reinsurance, CAO.
Yeah, this is a normal request there, just checking to make sure that the policy we've had in place for the Yarmouth Celebration Society is still in place and still covering their festival, and it would be our intention to continue with that. So if you wish to respond to that letter, unless you have other thoughts, we would be planning to proceed with that insurance policy.
You need a motion for that, Your Worship?
Please.
I'll put my mic on.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that we send CFES correspondence a letter and say that they will be on the town's insurance policy.
Is that sufficient?
Is that,
Under the Celebration Society Insurance.
it's okay,
Okay.
as,
Good?
thank you.
All right, move to second.
As recommended by the CAO. That's-
Councillor Mooney, go
One
ahead.
other real quick question, and thought about it after the grants to organizations were approved, but I don't think we've ever discussed fireworks around the table. Frank, what's the story?
As in insurance for it?
No, as in paying for them again this year.
Yeah, that's extra. That's a Frank grant. That is a Frank grant.
Yeah, Frank's supposed to
Yeah.
pay for that out of
I
his
think
budget.
didn't, at one time, didn't we take it over grants to organizations, or we do it over and above? Did you apply this year to Canada Heritage again, Frank? And the only reason they went during Seafest last year is because of fog, right? Or weather?
That's a good question, Councillor.
So the only, we got our knuckles wrapped for not having them during Canada Day. The weather dictated that, and we made the decision, and I did check with their office to make sure that we could put them off a couple weeks to Seafest, and they okayed it. But when we did the final paperwork, they questioned it again, and they said, no problem, the funding's remaining. They didn't recall the funds or anything like that, but they said for this year's application, if we get the money again, they have to be shot off July 1st. If it's bad weather, July 2nd. If it's bad weather, July 3rd. Yeah.
Somewhere near.
So
we can
we
work around
applied
that,
for the
can't we?
same thing
Same
we've
thing,
applied
Brian?
for the last few
can work
years,
around
so.
It
five-
used to be.
5,000 from Canadian Heritage, and the town puts in 5,000 for a $10,000 show. And the only other discussions based on last year was talking with Rodney Doucette, our parks manager, was looking into shooting them off a barge instead of off of privately owned land.
Your worship?
Okay, yeah, go ahead, you're on.
Years ago, I know, July the 1st, they used to have fireworks. And when Seafest came on stream, they moved it to a Seafest festivity, right? So with the assistance of the federal agency, it might only be the thing perhaps to look at. Maybe we should move it to July the 1st, advertise it as July the 1st Canada Day function. I think it's a great time to have it. It is. We're celebrating Canada. Fireworks is great. We do different activities at the wharf. We do them down at the playgrounds and everywhere. It's part, I think it fits in there perfect. It fits perfect. I have no problem with having it July the 1st with that extra flow of cash that would save the taxpayers money, and they'll love the fireworks July the 1st or August the 1st. So I think it's something we should really consider. I'm not making any motions or anything, but we should really consider moving it. It's just a matter of doing appropriate to let the public and everybody know. I think it's a good idea. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. Frank?
Just one other comment. I have notified the president of Seafest, Don Smith, that if we do get funding and if there is a fireworks show, that it will be in the vicinity of Canada Day and not during Seafest. And he, I guess there, we got, I think 1 or 2 summers we were lucky that they got funding for their own fireworks show, and that's why every year is, okay, fireworks during Canada Day, fireworks during Seafest, why is there not 2 shows, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so they've taken, they since lost that funding, and I think it was through some sort of tourism pot of money, and so basically they've taken the fireworks show out of their lineup because they have not applied for any funds, and they do not have funds for their own Seafest fireworks.
So the long and the short of it is $1,000 a minute is why we don't have it twice. Really?
It's, yeah, they're
very
very
expensive.
expensive, yeah.
Yeah. Well, $10,000, right? It's, but I think somehow people think they just get shot off and it's like $200
Yeah.
for a fifth of a second. Fifth of a second. Okay, so the insurance, oh, CAO, see, I can't see your light. Go ahead, CAO. I'll let
Yeah,
you
so
talk.
the councillor's thank you. The councillor's question was about the grants and the consideration for fireworks. So the fireworks really haven't come out of grants in a while because Seafest made the decision a few years ago that they no longer were going to do fireworks. That if the town wanted fireworks, then the town could do fireworks. And since they've extracted themselves from that process, I don't believe we've taken fireworks out of the grants funding. So last year, the only budget we had for fireworks was related to the Canada Day. So had we had good weather, that's when the fireworks would have been. So within the budget process, when we next meet, that's the time to talk about that in the context of everything else.
Good, thank you. So the Seafest insurance, we already did the motion. Seafest Collins Street parking lot. CAO?
Recommend that you permit this. You have for the last couple of years, and we've had no complaints or issues.
Okay, so the motion is to allow Seafest to access the Collins Street parking lot during Seafest. 7 a.m. to 12:30 for the junk in the trunk sale. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Questions been called? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. PJ's Motorsports, 3 vacant stores on Main Street. Go ahead, CAO.
Might be appropriate to receive and place on file and consider as we move forward.
Go ahead, Counselor.
He's got some interesting comments in there, and we've discussed this a little bit. I hate to see us lose sight of that. Placing it on file is nice, which means it goes in Never Never Land sometimes. I really think what he is suggesting has been done in other areas, and we've talked around this table about it as well. I think it's something proactive, and if we ever get into a situation with the acoustics plan or the downtown plan, I think that does have merit, that we should always try to keep that on the radar, because it is kind of puts succinctly what we've been talking about.
Yep, CAO, go ahead.
Yeah, it's fairly closely related to an entrepreneurs forum that I think is being planned this spring, in terms of people who may have ideas, helping them get their business idea off the ground, and obviously vacancies in the downtown play into that. If the landlords are involved and want to give somebody a bit of a break to help them try something, get something started with a promise of maybe better returns down the road. Anyway, we'll place it on the shelf if that's a better place.
Okay. Do I need a motion for that, or did I just have? Made the motion, moved by Councillor Dawes, second by Councillor Lancho. More discussion? Questions been called? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Previously distributed. And in camera. Motion to go in camera.
Why not? When you came in, there was no snow on the ground.
Fire chief and I to go to Australia for the Australia show. He uses water.